Alrighty, YouTube. It's E&R Collectors here. It's our second joint video.
How's it going?
Yeah, so second joint video, but then this is also our first CGC haul.
Right. So this last go around, Denver Comic Con, we made the choice to try CGC. And what we had noticed, I'm going to pull into frame a couple of CBCS books. We had noticed in our last haul from CBCS, there seemed to be some changes overall with quality. It may not come up well on camera, but there is up here, there's a seal. It kind of runs right through the label. There's wrinkling. If I tip this, you can kind of see that there might be a little bit of wrinkling in the label. The cases just didn't seem as clear. There's small scuff marks, which are kind of hard to make out. And you can see, just with my hand behind, that it's not quite, it's kind of got a slightly foggy, look to it. You can kind of see some of the smudges there. So we looked at it, and we weren't unhappy with the grading service that CBCS provided. We weren't unhappy with the product that we got. We just said, what is CGC going to be like? What's the quality of CGC going to be? So out of curiosity and not spite, we decided to give CGC a little bit of business this last go around. Now, we didn't do some sort of haul where we sent in books. We didn't send it in through a comic book shop. We didn't send it in ourselves. So we can't speak to the service of sending it out yourself or the particular comic book shop that packs it. This was through CGC directly at the event. And this is also with their free account. So you make an account online. If you do the free account, it gives you free submissions at Comic-Con conventions. You can't send any others in unless you want to pay, I think it's the $50 a year for a CGC account with them. That also gives you other perks with it, and we'll talk about that.
And submitting at conventions, I think, is still a way to go, because I've heard too many stories about, people's getting ruined by the post office or something like that when they try to ship it in themselves. So I think, if you use CGC or CBCS, I think it's still best to submit it at a convention. So
I agree. I think since they're the ones that are kind of shipping that in, and you're putting insurance on the books as well, because they have value. If you're going to have them graded, they have a higher liability for getting that product to their vaults, their safes, and their grading service than FedEx or USPS. So I recommend submitting at conventions if you can, hold out through the year and just submit there. I understand some folks can't do that or just don't care to. And hey, if you've got the packaging figured out for your books and perfected, more power to you.
So it works,
But this was also so that we could try out the service without paying a huge fee. And so we're not going to be able to speak to what being a CGC member is going to be like. I don't know that we have enough books to submit for grading purposes to really warrant that cost. So we'll start off showing, we'll do kind of a little bit of talking as we go. This is R's book. He submitted one this go around. I decided to submit 4 so that we had a relatively good sample size. And the impression at the event was that the folks seemed very professional, but they did not appear, partly because it was so busy at the booth. Now, I submitted the comics for CGC. R was off getting some signatures, and he was going through CBCS.
Yeah, so we did both at Denver Comic Con. So we submitted. Let's see, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then so we did 5 through CGC. This was the only one that I sent into CGC. The rest I did with CBCS because I was getting signatures on all of them, and I don't know. When it comes to signatures, I still like CBCS because they make it more handy that you can witness your own.
The self-witness program's convenient in the sense that if your witness, you can schedule them with CGC, and for the most part I've heard they're pretty good, but I've heard a couple times when the witness did not show up at the appointed time for the signing, and that was your one window, bub, to really get that. So that kind of makes it hard. The idea of the self-witness program as it exists, you're there, you're at the event, you submit paperwork before the event to basically get on their register for that event as a witness. And you do not have to rely on somebody else being at your appointed time. You can basically certify by signing and by putting forth this paperwork that you are getting these signatures of your own will, and they're formalizing the process for that signature base a little bit more too. Not that it was something that was, I would say, easily exploited beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, you had to know about it. If you knew about it, I don't think you'd necessarily,
think there was a huge number. I don't think there was a huge number of people faking signatures or witnesses or different, taking advantage of the system. But certainly, they're making attempts to kind of route through that process.
And they tighten that up, and we can probably get into this more once we get that CBCS haul back.
Certainly.
So that's the big thing. So we submitted both of the sets on the same day at the same convention, and these came back
very quickly.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I mean, the convention was
middle of June.
Yeah, middle of June. So we waited, I don't know if it was even quite 3 months, and we had the comic books back, which was very quick service. Even at the table at the convention, service was pretty quick. Submitting the comics is kind of an electronic process now through CGC. So I input all the information in, paying, all that stuff is done on the iPad. We'll change out scenery here while we're talking.
I'm talking enough books.
The automation was pretty nice. There was a lot of people there, and something I missed that we got at CBCS a lot was just the personal conversation. They took good care of the books. The quality of the service there was great, but those folks working the desk did not have a lot of time to talk with you, and that's not a slight on CGC. It's just I kind of enjoy having folks.
Yeah, it's a personal preference thing. So
it is. So you'll note kind of, and I'll move my hand behind here. You might be able to tell it's a lot clearer for the case. So we got the product back. The case seems a lot clearer. There's not really any scuffs on it. There wasn't any sort of marks. You don't see any sort of heat sealing except on the sides here. So the inner well on the CBCS, if we can kind of get that in frame a little bit.
Oh, I'll start a little stand here.
So the inner well on the CBCS books is pressed. It's heat pressed. So there's a seal along the inner well. And so if you have a CBCS book, you'll be able to see that. The CGC books seem to have a well that kind of either snaps together or just kind of sits in the case a certain way, but there are not really any heat seals that you can see on the front for the inner well. Maybe a small one right here, but it's very light. So I'm not exactly sure how they do that. And then they seal the case on the side with that kind of heat seal there. But as far as presentation goes, I think CGC's cases look very nice. The clarity of the plastic seems to be a little bit better than CBCS plastic. There's kind of this, if you look at it in the light in the right way, there's kind of a translucent, almost looks like a colory film on it, but that doesn't really bother me if you're looking head on. It looks great. The grading service, the quality of the grading. So all the books that we submitted, and we're going to shift things out, all the books that we submitted came back as 9.8. Every single one. Now, I'm not certain that the books, had we submitted them to CBCS, would have been graded that high. Some of the books had what I perceived to be scuffs, breaks in color, small presses in the cover, and it seems that in the past when we submitted to CBCS that those things mattered a lot more. But without being able to see grading notes, which is kind of one of the bad things about the free service with CGC, you do not get grading notes for free. It's hard to say what exactly they found, but all of these came back 9.8, so I'm happy with the grades we got.
Yeah.
I'm just not certain if those grades or how accurate they are. I'm not sure I have a good sense for that, but very happy with the grades coming back on the books.
Yeah, so they weren't 9.8s weren't necessarily expected on all of these. So.
Right.
But we ended up getting them. So.
We knew they would all be kind of mid to high 9s. We thought maybe 9.4, 6, 8.
Probably.
Maybe a 2 on 1 or 2 of these, but
9.2.
Right, 9.2.
Not a 2.0, no.
But you know, we really weren't sure what to expect. We were kind of going off what we had seen with CBCS. So from the grading perspective, great grades. I'm not sure how accurate they are.
And it's kind of hard to tell too. You know, if you could submit without taking this one out and sending it into CBCS and seeing what that gets.
And that gets tough with the cases, right? Because I think you have to break the cases open. They snap together. They're kind of welded shut. Whereas CBCS has this nice hinged case. So if it ever needed to be reslabbed, you could do it. But the cases on both, and I think from our standpoint, we would recommend either CBCS or CGC because of the material used in the cases. Both of them now use archival plastic. And that allows the ink, I think, to, as it ages, the gases inside to escape through the plastic and basically keep the comic book as is. It doesn't provide any sort of UV protection, but it does provide protection for the ink. So that's kind of nice. I mean, either one's really good. I think that PGX still uses the old CGC method, which I think is a robar plastic, and then it's got a paper inside that basically prevents the aging, but it's got a finite life. It only lasts for 5 to 10 years, and then after that point, the paper is kind of worn out. It needs to be reslabbed. So with archival plastic, that's not really something you need to worry about, which is nice. So. So the service, I think, was pretty good. The speed at which they came back was very impressive. All these books were moderns. We did not submit any sort of golden age, silver age. Times can be different depending on the age of comic book that you submit. So, but for the moderns, they came back very quickly. I got email responses for when it was going through the process, when it was going to be shipped. Invoice, everything seemed spot on. So, good job, CGC. Very happy with the quality, and I think that it's a great service. I think in future, however, just because of the personal conversations with CBCS, I think too that the accuracy in the grading of the book, and knowing that the cases are just as good for what their purpose is, I think I would still probably go with CBCS in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so the CBCS, it looks like it might still be a month out, 4 or 5 weeks ish, from getting back. So, yeah, time definitely CGC has the advantage of turnaround time. But yeah, I mean, like the personal touch, at least at the conventions, I really like that. They've always been really personable and really, fun to talk to at the CBCS booth. And
I've always felt like the grade matched the book for the most part. Sometimes we were disappointed when books came back with the grades they got. They actually got lower grades. And, it's that disappointment, it's tough if your book isn't the top notch. But at the same time, I want my book to be whatever that book is. If I were purchasing a comic book today on eBay, I think I'd feel a lot better purchasing a CBCS book than a CGC book.
Yeah.
Even though they're not quite as maybe coveted or collectible because of the label, maybe the case, but I'd feel very confident buying from CBCS again and CGC. The services now and everything, our experience was good. Comic books as they came back was great. This is not a dogging on CGC at all. It's really
not dogging on CBCS either. I mean,
there's just
I guess
benefits and things that both could probably work on, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
so
CBCS was the first one we ever did, and that's the only one we've gone with so far. So, we've got history with CBCS, and so still really like them. But yeah, just for sake of comparison, use CGC, at least once, and I still think it's good. I think it's worth going with again. So
we might in future do some more books with CGC just to see maybe for Silver Age or Golden Age books. Does the service change? Does the grading service kind of change? We tried it out just with Moderns this time. We wanted to see what the process was like at the Comic-Con convention. We wanted to see, what the experience would be like before we started putting a whole lot of investment into getting grading done by CGC for other books. But I think that they're well worth the investment to put in. And it just depends, I think, on what you're doing with the book. If you're at a Comic-Con convention and you're getting a whole bunch of signatures, and those signatures are things that you can self-witness, there are certain people that you cannot self-witness. But if you are going around and you're getting a whole bunch of signatures, I think CBCS is the way to go. If you're somebody who wants to get a whole bunch of books back very quickly, you can even rush them with CGC and get them back within a couple weeks. If you're looking at trying to turn around and resell comic books and you want them to be slabbed and have a number on them, CGC is the way to go. It's definitely the way to go.
Yeah. So when the CBCS haul gets back, I know we're starting to run a little long on this one, but when that gets back, we'll, even though those are all my books, we can do another joint video here. We might get more into that, how the signature process worked, because they have tightened that up. Our last couple Denver Comic Cons, we've just walked up to the booth, asked for the what do they call it? Authorized witness form, and then you fill it out there at the table, and then you're good for the rest of the convention. Here, I essentially had to do that, a couple weeks beforehand. I had to get in touch with Mark Roman. He's the head of the signature program, and kind of had to tell him, about myself and my history with comic books and stuff like that, so you can kind of get an idea that I'm not.
And that's not terribly new. That's been the case for about a year, I want to say now, because when we did the Colorado Springs Comic Con, they were just unrolling that new process, I believe. I was able to get it done at the convention still. I was able to work with CBCS to get it so that we could get our Billy D. Williams books graded and verified. CGC
with the yellow label, yeah. CGC wasn't even there, so
no, CGC
that's another thing too. I don't know, I guess, how true it is, you know, but it seems like CBCS makes it to more conventions than CGC does. So, like Colorado Springs Comic Con for this year is next weekend. I'm going to that, so probably do another video with my help from that. But yeah, CBCS is going to be there. CGC isn't. So. You know, if you wanted to send them in on a convention, then you're kind of left with CBCS. And like I said, I still think that's probably the way to go, is to use, you know, send them in, send your books in at a convention, and don't try mailing them in yourself.
It just helps with the condition of the books. It'll probably get you higher grades, and you know you're letting someone else be liable for the shipping through there. I mean, there's still insurance on books when you ship them out, but you know, it's better to rely on somebody else, especially somebody whose business it is to package, deliver, grade, and send comic books. It's nice to kind of rely on that expertise. So, well, I think that just about does it. If you guys have questions, of course, you know, put it in the comments section. We'll try to answer those. We didn't really do much talking about the books. We've shown these books before in other videos.
We can run through them really quick, just kind of see what they are.
Yeah, so Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows, number 11, edition A, so this is just the regular cover. I had it. It wasn't, I would say, the highest book in my grading platform, but because we're trying something out new, I just wanted to try something out with a book I liked and wanted to have slabbed.
And this was one of those that I think you were thinking wouldn't get a 9.8.
That's true. So down here, I had noticed there was kind of a press, and it's hard to see now. I mean, whatever process they use with slabbing seems to have gotten rid of that. But when I sent it out, it was pretty obvious there was kind of this small divot. It didn't break color. It didn't do. It didn't seem to do anything like that. But I remember I sent out another book that I thought was going to be 9.8 material. It came back 9.4 from CBCS, and it said it had polybag pressing on it. Like there was a small divot caused by the polybag process, or when they encased the comic book. So I thought, though this isn't a polybag comic book, I thought, well, that divot in the front's not going to fly. It's not going to fly. But I was happy that it came back 9.8. Really love the artwork, the cover. I also purchased, and you saw it in one of our last videos, I purchased the one where it's the negative with the white outfit, the black hair. Unfortunately, that one's signed, but so I can't. It's a green label or a red label book. It's not going to be gold or blue, but
yeah.
So this one is the Hulk #1 comic exposure virgin variant. I think there was only 500 of these books printed, so there's not very many. I purchased them from KRS Comics, and it came as a set of 6. I think I paid about $20 per book, which wasn't bad considering the exclusivity of them. But the virgins being the rarest of them, I decided to have both of these slabbed. They seemed in pretty good condition. But again, there was it seemed like minor color breaking on the spine. I wasn't sure that these were going to get 9.8. I was thinking maybe 9.6, 9.4. And it came back 9.8, so I'm really happy with that grade.
Yeah.
So then we got Amazing Spider-Man #23. This is from the same set, so they're kind of a puzzle cover. The Hulk ties in over here, if you can kind of see how that's supposed to tie together, sort of. But big fan of Gwen Stacy, like the Spider-Gwen comics quite a bit. And so this is the virgin cover of that. Not sure if it's focusing very well right now, but the came back 9.8 again. There were some minor things I thought with it. There seemed to be kind of some breaking on the spine. I think there was kind of a small white spot. Not sure if it's going to show through on the case, but came back 9.8. I was pretty happy with that. So, and then the last one I did was the Mara Queen of Atlantis #1, and this is the Emerald City exclusive variant cover, I believe. It has a foil cover. It's the same artwork as the regular one, but it's got a foil cover, so it's a little bit harder to find. We went to a comic book shop, and they had gone to the convention. They had one of these available, and I got it right when they were putting it on the shelf, purchased it, and decided to have that one graded. I don't think it's a very expensive book online, but I only paid...
Yeah, I mean, this just says foil cover. It doesn't say...
It doesn't say the
Comic-Con exclusive, so I don't know how foil exclusives work exactly. I mean, you can usually get them at conventions and stuff like that.
On the back.
Got that at Iron Lion Collectibles.
So it does say on the back convention edition.
Oh, okay.
So it does say that it is the convention exclusive. And it says that on the back of the book as well, in case people were wondering. And then the last one is R's book.
Yeah, this was mine. This is the only one I did. Like I said, the rest I got signed and sent off with CBCS. So this is, I guess, only my second CGC book. So I had bought one other. It was a Star Wars #4 Boba Fett action figure variant. It was a CGC book, but I got that already graded. And, you know, when we saw the condition of that and compared to some of our CBCS books, that's kind of what triggered this, you know, this idea, you know, to try out CGC, you know,
and see what the service was like.
You know, yeah, double check the quality and stuff. So,
and then all these books were shipped in this kind of ugly plastic bag, but it does its job well. It keeps them protected. Keeps them from getting scratched.
Just a poly bag, so nothing too special.
I think CBCS puts theirs in a very thin mylar, so better material.
We'll see when they come back.
We'll see. The ones that they gave us before are mylar, but
yeah.
So
a little long, but I think we'll tie it up there. So
right, and we'll come back with more videos once we get CBCS back.
Yeah, so Colorado Springs Comic-Con's next weekend. It'll be just me going there. So I'll be sending some books off for red labels with CBCS there. And maybe some other, you know, blue label books. But otherwise, I'll just be spending the time hunting. There's some Star Wars actors I'm going to try to get autographs for. So, yeah. See if I get around to doing a video next weekend of that haul. So keep an eye out, and then, you know, also keep an eye out for the CBCS haul. A couple weeks, hopefully. Knock on wood.
Well, we'll leave it there. It's getting long. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Alrighty. See ya.